Hello everyone and welcome back to For the Minions, the weekly show designed to keep you in the loop on all the games that us para-refugees care about. And that includes Ethereal and all the successors. What we're going to do today, we're going to go through any news and updates we have for each of the games. We're going to talk about the popularity poll, and then our discussion topic for this week is self-funding versus investor backing. Two of these games are investor-backed, two of them are self-funded. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of each. And then do remember that this show, anybody can be a part of it. If you want to come guest host, all you got to do is hit me up in the comments. You don't have to be a creator. You don't even have to have a webcam. If you just want to come on and talk about these games with us, then just hit me up and let me know. And so I'm your host, the Man Goose. Joining me, as always, is my friend and co-host, Jellyknees. Jelly, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Man Goose. Another exciting week of updates for all these games and all that good stuff. And then we've got Mr. Stunt_V here with us. Welcome, Stunt.
Hey, thank you, Jelly. Thank you, Man Goose. It's great being here with you guys, always.
Yeah, Stunt's a good friend of both of us, a good friend of the show. We talked to Stunt a lot. Stunt, just tell us a little bit about your history with Paragon, favorite heroes, that sort of thing.
I started playing Paragon because my cousins introduced me to it. It was one of those games where if all five of us were not on, we weren't playing. I did a few AI runs and stuff like that, but I was mostly playing with Howitzer. I was mostly a mid-main, so mostly it was Howitzer, Iggy and Scorch, Gideon, things like that. It was one of those games where it brought my cousins and friends together, and we would constantly play. But I think MOBAs nowadays, I've put more hours into it than I have in Paragon. Paragon was close to about 500, 600 hours, because by the time I was introduced to the game, by the time I started enjoying the game, the new card system came out and Paragon died away. So like that nostalgia feeling is still in me. Like I'm waiting for something like that just to have fun again with my cousins.
So he was a filthy 5-stacker, Man Goose. All right, now get him off the show. That's it.
Believe it or not, Jelly, always. If any of us queued alone, we did not queue into a match. We just went on, played with AI, tried out the new heroes and all that. We would just 5-stack. That's all we did.
I mean, I've been 5-stacking in Fault like a madman.
Wait a second. How did I become the non-5-stacker here?
I have no idea. But let's move on into the news and updates. Predecessor, we're in a bit of a dry spell. Nothing really for Predecessor, but I do want to get Fault's opinion on not Fault. I do want to get Stunt's opinion on Pred, since we haven't had Stunt on the show before. Stunt, what do you think about Predecessor? What's your overall opinion?
I really like the game. I was lucky enough to play in the last closed alpha, and was lucky enough to play a few games in the stress test. I enjoy it. I mean, their reputation for having everything perfect or trying to be perfect, they prove it. Like, the gameplay is smooth, it's fun. It brings back, I think, out of pretty much all of them, it probably brings back more of that Paragon feel. Mm-hmm. So if somebody has like a Paragon nostalgia and stuff, Predecessor brings back that feel. So, but I'm just waiting. I'm like on like spikes, just waiting to see what they're gonna come up with and what they're gonna give us in the next phase. So.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you, Stunt, in that I think Predecessor has the most of that it captures the most nostalgia for me. Playing Predecessor like gets me back in those feels. I played a lot of Feng Mao when Paragon first released, and so playing Feng Mao and Predecessor feels almost identical to me, despite the map being slightly different. But it's just that feeling, and I'm just like, yes, I can go out and just absolutely smash people with this character now, right? Like I love that feeling that they have in their game.
Yeah, I don't think they're going for an exact one-for-one copy of Paragon, but they do definitely come the closest. I've said that a million times now. Let's move on, since we weren't really having much for Predecessor, and talk about Ethereal, since we all participated in the streamer event that they had on the 6th. And that was a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun. Stunt, what was your opinion on it? Because you were kind of new to Ethereal, and you got to come in and play. And I know, and you practiced with us, like you actually came and played some games before the streamer event. So what's your overall impression of Ethereal?
first I want to thank you guys again. It was an amazing experience. Ethereal is on a completely different level. I mean, there isn't a game I can compare Ethereal to be honest with you. If those actually fans or those the community members that haven't played it yet, I mean, I can't even come close to a game that compares it. It's extremely fun. The fun thing about Ethereal is where you're constantly looking behind you because you can gain from any angle. It's just a very fun feeling. Like some of these other pair zombies, you know that mid lane and the side lanes are connected by one river or whatever, or the jungle. But in Ethereal, anything is possible, and it was actually a fun time. I enjoyed every minute of it. It's one of those games where when you jump into a game and you play, you don't feel the time go by. At one point, I looked at the clock. I'm like, dude, we're 38 minutes in, and it felt like we just started 5 minutes ago. And that's what it is. It's constantly keeping you engaged. It's constantly keeping you playing. It's not one of those games. If you fall behind as a character, you start losing like the lane. So you constantly want to jump in and engage, so you don't have that issue.
Yeah, I had one of the creators mention to me after the Extra Life event that it gives you the feeling of that like FPS, like adrenaline feeling almost while you're in lane, right? That when you're playing, because at any moment Aaliyah could dive out of the sky and get you. At any moment, a Malaya could show up behind you, right? And it's I think 3D MOBAs capture that a little bit, but I think Ethereal does that on another level because of that extra verticality and those extra abilities making that difference. I take a huge amount of pride. Like, you're calling my baby beautiful. Like, I'm sitting here like, yes, I love hearing Stun talk about this.
Absolutely, it is, because in this game, like in most games, when it comes to the other pair zombies or even Paragon, you were constantly afraid of like Kalari and all these other jungles. In this game, anything is possible. You can't just say, oh, this one character, if it's on their team, then we should be careful. If you make that mistake, then you're pretty much screwed. That's how it comes down to. You know what I mean? The whole process, the whole gameplay, the feel, the time going by quick. If people are looking for a game that has a quick time, or the timeline is pretty quick, whether you play an hour or an hour and a half, you're not going to feel it. It almost feels like it's 5 minutes long because of all the engagement and all the fun and all the objectives you have in the game. So yeah, it's an amazing game. It's definitely turned me. I'll be honest with you. It's definitely turned me.
I like it. Yes, you love to hear it. Mangoose, what were your thoughts about the Extra Life event? I know you and I have talked about it already on ETE, but
yeah, I mean, people already know my feelings about Ethereal, but I just wanted to say that the streamer event itself went off really well. I didn't really have any complaints whatsoever. Excuse me.
Your body says otherwise.
I'll have to edit that out. No, like I said, there was only one problem. That was Sockap disconnected the first game, and that was because his kids were downloading Doom, I think it was, or something like that. So that wasn't a problem with on you guys' end. I thought everything was ran extremely well. You got a decent amount of games in, and then you went into that the Q&A so that you guys could specifically answer some of the questions that were coming up in people's streams. I thought that was a great idea, because people are going to get these questions, and not all the streamers know everything about Ethereal, and that's a good way to get engaged. Even if you're repeating information that people that have been following Ethereal from day one already know, it's still good to get that information out there. And I thought you guys just did an incredible job of putting that event together, and it went off without a hitch, which is more than you can say about a lot of stuff, and it's more than you can say about some of Undying Games' older attempts at this kind of stuff. I thought the first Extra Life event, it was fun. It didn't go at nearly as well as planned, but stuff happens and you learn from it.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I'm really glad to hear you guys that you enjoyed the event as a whole. It was super fun for us as well, right? And all around a great thing. But we've got now the stress test to look forward to, which is kind of that next obstacle in Undying Games' eyes, on the 20th of November. So if any of you guys watching this aren't signed up yet, go to the Undying Games website and get registered for that. And you can get signed up for the stress test to get a chance to enter in there. We're doing like final preparation on getting everything's set up to make sure that stress test goes off without a hitch. So it should be fun.
And speaking of repeating information, once you register for the newsletter, you're registered for the stress test. So a lot of people were asking that. And yeah, that should be a great time. I'm really hoping your servers hold up. I really hope they hold up for as long as possible, and you can get, at least about 500 people or something like that in there. That would be great. I want as many people to experience this game as possible, because like Stunt said, it really even if you're dead set on Paragon, I think once you try Ethereal, your opinion is going to change a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's new and it's fun and it's interesting, and there's going to be a lot more stuff in the stress test than was in the streamer thing. So Jelly, can you inform us what's going to be different about the stress test?
Yeah, so the stress test should have the Reapers climbing in there, so Malaya will be able to climb walls, Berserkers will be able to destroy walls, so Ron, we're actually looking at implementing the ward system in for that stress test. So there's a lot of those unique features. There's some balance tweaks that we're making to make the whole experience just more fun for everybody. A bunch of those kind of things that we're trying to get in there and get in the works so that we have as many of those systems up and running as possible.
So now you can be even more scared in lane now that Malaya can run over top of a mountain and come in and drop in behind you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the last thing I wanted to cover for Ethereal was Ron's theme. Already talked about this on ET a bit, but that was released. Stunt, did you hear Ron's theme? Did you see that on their YouTube channel?
I didn't get to see Ron's theme, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be something amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was spooky.
It's spooky.
I mean, it fit him. I wouldn't say it was spooky. It was just like Jelly said in ET. It's like a presence. Like it's a little ominous, but.
I did love your comment, Mangoose, of this should have released on Halloween, and then Owen coming back with the in Elysium, this is Halloween. Yeah. So brilliant comeback,
Owen. Making up his own lore. Frickin' Owen.
But I'll tell you this, Mangoose. The other videos I've seen as far as Ethereal, the other introduction videos, everything is on point. They're all amazing.
Awesome, man.
I try to keep an open mind when people are criticizing the game, because there is a lot to criticize. But like some guy said that he didn't like the voice lines and he didn't like the voice acting, and like that got me right in the feels, because I love the voice lines and I love the voice acting. I was like, oh, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't get mad, but I was close to it.
Mangoose sounds like you got mad a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. I didn't express my anger, I should say.
There you go.
All right, let's move on now into Fault. Still no version 14, but we do have 2 map images. I'll be showing them on screen as we talk. But yeah, it looks like this was confirmed that it's from version 14. So looks like we're getting, if not a brand new map, then at least an aesthetically upgraded map. I think it's a brand new map. I think everything's going to be changed. Stunt, what do you think?
Both images. The one that came out, I think, was yesterday, showing one of the lanes or one of the towers. They look great. I mean, I've always been a type of player who's really liked the graphics too. And as far as all the para-zombies that are going around, Fault's the graphics, the images, and stuff like that are very interesting. I'm liking what I'm seeing. It gives you that more realistic feel with seeing the tree line, seeing all of that. I was just trying to figure out what lane that was. I tried my hardest to see what they're trying to show us, and obviously it's going to be a secret until 14 comes out or whenever it comes out.
Yeah. Jelly, what do you think?
I agree with you, man, because I think it's a brand new map. At the bare minimum, it's a redesign of that lane as a whole, because the way that it declines into the side paneling is all different from what's currently in Fault. So I would say it's most likely an entirely new map, because they've been teasing a new map for longer than they've been teasing patch 14. So it makes sense that we're getting it. It's one of those things where I almost wonder now if we're getting almost too much in patch 14.
Yeah.
Like, as weird as it is to say that, it sounds like we're great, we have the mastery system, we have a new map, we have a new character, we have the AI, we have all these things. Like, at what point are you overwhelming everybody instantaneously, whereas you could just drop these things in quick succession, but slightly spread apart at the same time? And it makes me wonder why, if that's why 14 is so delayed, is they're so concerned with trying to package these things all together instead of giving the AI, instead of giving just the map, instead of doing these smaller but still big patches side by side instead of all at once.
Right. I'm just a little confused because I didn't think there was anything wrong with the map that they have now. I mean, if they got a better map, cool. I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. I know a lot of people have been asking for a new map, so I'm probably in the minority with thinking that the map they have is perfectly fine. But if they want to do a new map, they can do a new map. I don't care. The second image they did, that lane looked a little flat to me. Like, you're used to the verticality of Paragon, but that lane looked very flat. However, when I was watching Bearded's stream, and while he was streaming, one of their map designers was in his stream, kind of complaining that they had chosen that image to show because apparently that was like the least changed of anything and was probably not the. I think they were just trying to give us a little taste and not reveal too much with that particular image. So apparently there's a lot more in store than just what we saw right there.
And to speak about the map we're playing on now, Magus, I'm going to talk through some of the community members. It's not that they don't like the map. They think it's kind of boring. They see it as where the river's supposed to be. It's one straight lane. If you close your eyes, you'll go from left lane to the right lane. And they're saying there's not too many places to gank. There's no corners and stuff like that. It's plain. And we understand why they did that, because they were having a what's the word I'm looking for? Optimization issue. Because some of Windows older videos, I like the older map that Fault had. The jungle area looked much more amazing. But I guess because of optimization and all this other stuff, they had to deal with this map. And that's the most of the complaints I get is the map is kind of boring. That's the only thing they're saying. It's not like they don't like any of the jungle minions or anything like that. They just see it as boring.
I think for me, and because jungle is the role I primarily play in Fault, is their jungle camps are all squished in like the same tiny area, and you just go through your 4 camps right in the same kind of vicinity and then go out to the lanes, and that's your diversity of something else. And I would love to see that change a little bit more and kind of make you walk a slight bit further to your jungle camps to make them more separated and feel distinct rather than just you have a group of 4 camps all nearby each other.
Yeah, you're right. Like, going from red buff to that side buff to the side camp and then the front camp, it's just like you're right there. Like, it's all in the same general vicinity. Whereas Paragon, like, you had the camp that was closest to your tower, and then you had the red buff, and then you had a camp like way over here, and then a camp way over down here. Yeah, you're right. I don't know if they want to add that many camps, but
and then the gold buffs
on red side.
Yeah, and then the gold buffs on the lanes in Paragon were kind of hidden inside, depending on which side you played, the dawn or dusk.
Yeah.
So
good stuff. I mean, I'm glad to see something out of them. I would much prefer to see that patch, but
I agree with you 100%.
So let's move on to Overprime. Man, them Soul Leave boys, they've been putting in
Soul
work.
Leave boys at it again.
I'm a little surprised that more people aren't as excited about Overprime as you see. I guess it's because that initial Overprime push kind of put a bad taste in their mouth, but man, they have been putting in work, all kinds of stuff. So let's start off. The biggest thing that people have been concerned about Overprime is not on Steam. They showed themselves registering for Steam, and then their registration is under review. I've been checking Steam every day since to see if they popped on the store. I don't think they're going to pop onto the. I think they'll receive the approval, and then it's up to them whenever they actually populate on the Steam store. But yes, we finally have at least proof that they have that they are going to be on Steam, and they're going to be on Steam very, very soon.
Yeah. And I think the video specifically states when they submit it that it takes up to 48 hours to review your page.
Right.
So if it was going to auto-populate, we should have seen it by today, as of when the video went up, right? Theoretically, they could have submitted earlier than that. But yeah, I'd imagine they have to hit some kind of go live feature on their page to make sure that that's all up and running.
Right. Stunt, what do you think about Steam for Overprime?
I mean, they've started their engines and they're not planning on stopping. Yeah. Everything is coming quick. I mean, Overprime in general with all their videos, and you guys were talking about it last week with Bearded too. Their videos, their team behind the artwork, everything is amazing. I have nothing against it. Their action is the gameplay action is a little bit fast for my taste, but again, they're pushing it. They're gunning it. They have their foot on the gas and they're not backing down.
Mm-mm.
From the first time we heard about Overprime making moves, I think from their backing to now, yeah, those guys are aiming for the finish line, and
yeah,
and I think they're on track to do so. Especially if Steam goes live, I'm just very curious to know how many people are going to jump on it really quick and what the reviews are going to look like. Because Steam is notorious to get reviews, so I'm very curious.
It is going to be faster. It's definitely going to be faster. I usually prefer the slower play style, but I think it's a smart move because that distinguishes them from Fault and Predecessor more than Fault and Predecessor are distinguished from each other. It puts them in a whole different category by increasing the speed. Like, if you guys don't know, like, from what we saw from their stream, all of your abilities except for your ultimate were unlocked from the beginning. There was only 2 towers. It seemed like you got XP and gold really fast. The way I think of Overprime a lot is Heroes of the Storm, because there's a lot of similarities, like all the abilities being unlocked at the first. And like in Overprime, when you take the Orb Prime, it marches down lane and pushes the lane for you. That's kind of what happens in Heroes of the Storm. And when I really think about it, I played League of Legends, I played Dota, I played Heroes of the Storm. The only one I stuck with was Heroes of the Storm because it was easy to pick up, hard to master, and I liked the quick gameplay aspect of it. And I could get a game or two in before I was waiting on something else, you know. Yeah. So I mean, it might be just a really smart business decision on their part to make it that much faster. It may not bring in as many of the para refugees as some of the other games, but they have a shot at bringing in their own crowd.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how to have the wording. I don't want to misword it or anything or say something that's wrong, but I think their play style in Overprime is mostly their style and their culture too, because it's faster. Like Kalari, I don't know what Kiki or whatever the name was, Kakia or something like that. It gave me like. Remember Ninja Gaiden back on Xbox?
Yeah.
It gave me that type of action, quick action. And I think it's in their culture like that. The map design, it's all vibrant, colorful, like flowers here and there. So that's the feeling I get from their side of the game. It might be a little too quick for my taste, and having the side lanes, a portal to enter the side lanes kind of scares me. Because in any MOBA, you know that the carry lane always gets ganked. Now, if you have a solo laner that comes in, by the time you even ping somebody, you're dead. So it's a scary feeling, but it's their style. That's what they want. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Those faster mobile MOBAs are huge in the East, right? Oh, yeah. And they dominate, and so it makes sense that a company from that region is developing a game that fits that same playstyle, like you're saying, Stunt. That it all fits together. So it makes perfect sense. And like Mangu said, it's differentiating them. Basically, they can pull the Monolith crowd, and then Fault and Pred can pull off the Legacy crowd, right? You're the two separate fan bases that were essentially two different games almost, right? It can go to either direction depending on what they feel they want. Right. It's not just hoping that the one you're following does what you want it
to. Let's move on to the next item for Overprime. They showed off a picture of Destroyer. We don't know what it is. A lot of people are saying it's another one of their own heroes. Like they've already talked about. I forget her name, but the shield and whip hero that they released that's of their own design and is completely unique to Overprime, was never in Paragon. People are saying that this might be a hero that's unique to Overprime, and I personally, I've already talked to you guys about it. I think it's just a new skin for the Overprime. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think?
I initially thought it was like that because of the size. I mean, yeah, if they come up with their own character, maybe it'll be bigger. But the sheer size compared to the other heroes that were in that picture, it only tells me like a main boss over, whether it's Overprime or another like objection or an objective for the game. That's what it came out to me. I don't think. I think the biggest hero we've had so far in any of these games has been what? Rampage
when he's old.
Size wise. And this picture, that thing looked bigger than Rampage. It looked like a huge character or Prime.
So Jelly, what did you think of the Destroyer?
I mean, I think he's too big to be a hero.
Yeah.
Unless the only thing that I can think of is if it is a Rampage skin, it's him during his ultimate.
Right.
Assuming his ultimate's exactly the same. Otherwise, there's no way it's a hero because that is too big of a character, especially in comparison to like Iggy and Scorch. Like it's just too large. It has to be something else, probably an Overprime skin or something to differentiate themselves.
Yeah, because if you fail to snipe that with Murdoch, you should uninstall the game.
Bearded, you hear that? If you missing snipe on Murdoch.
On that character.
No. I think just in general, if you miss snipe in Murdoch, you should uninstall Bearded.
Whatever it is, it's fucking cool. Like it looks really cool. The main reason it really looks like it's built on that Overprime skeletal mesh. Like if you look at the proportions and the way it's kind of walking and everything, not really walking, but the way it's standing. But it could be a new hero. I guess we'll find out sooner or later.
At this rate, we'll find out tomorrow that they'll release a new video, dude.
They just keep
like every day there's something new coming out.
Popping. Speaking of that, they also released, I think it was today, the day that we're recording this, their mocap suit. They did a little YouTube short showing off some guy dancing around in a mocap suit, and then it showed Twin Blast doing that dance. So they're using mocap to put new animations into the game, which is really cool. Jelly, you have a little mocap experience over there at Ethereal. What'd you think of that?
I think it's incredible. The fact that so that dance is like a big thing on TikTok right now, right? So the fact that they're taking pop culture reference essentially and putting it into their game is huge, because some players, that's all it takes. You see a character doing that dance and you go, "What is that?" And you inquire just a little bit more to get you involved in that game. So if that's what it takes for them, that's huge. The fact that they're using mocap to update animations for the Paragon assets is huge as well. Right? They were given everything on those, so they really could focus on their side, their new characters and all of that kind of stuff, but they're going back and actually implementing more for original characters too, which I think shows that they're trying to make everyone feel welcome, whether it be the old Paragon crowd, that you're still going to get new things as well, and in their own characters and their own community as well.
What'd you think, Stunt?
I was surprised to even have motion capture in this type of game. When I opened the YouTube page and I saw the motion capture, I'm like, wow, you guys are taking it to another level. Mm-hmm. It usually you just get characters that are animated and sculpted and with 3D, but to put in motion capture, this could be something new. Yeah,
I mean, they already had all the characters and animations and everything from the Paragon assets. They didn't need to do mocap unless it was for their new hero, but looks like they're going all in. They're going all in. I had no idea that was like a popular TikTok dance, by the way.
And it was in like a full-fledged mocap studio, right? If you, in the background, you can see like the green screens and the lights and everything that's there to make that look as good as possible for them and their animators, to make it as easy as possible for them as well. Right? So it's good to see that it's not just some guy in his garage, right, putting the mocap together. but it's a full-fledged mocap studio that they're using, whether it's their own studio or they're hiring a third party to do it. They have that capability, which is nice to see.
Yeah, good stuff. And then last thing, not really big, is that they are going to start advertising via TikTok. I thought they already were. They were doing the YouTube shorts. Like, why not just take that and put it on TikTok? Just makes sense.
But that fits now more with that dance, that they can throw the dance on TikTok, and then it all comes full circle. Yeah. That it makes sense that, like I said, it's drawing just a couple more people in. That's all it takes.
I can think of some shit I've seen on TikTok that I'd like to see Decker do, but that's that's a different story.
All right then.
If you're in LA, I'll take you to a mocap studio and we'll get your Decker dances going, Mangoose.
Right on.
Hang on, I could come to LA and we can do this as a Christmas gift for Mangoose. We'll get Decker animations made up for him.
Who do you want to act out as Decker?
I thought it was going to be Jelly.
You're stunt.
Stunt, yeah, stunt. You're a stunt man.
Yeah, I'm a stuntman, but I don't do TikTok dances.
No, do some cool
kind
shit
of stunt right there.
I want to see parkour Decker.
Hardcore Decker, do it.
Yeah, do a backflip and throw the little ball around. Hit my own teammate and steal the enemy.
Do it up. All right, let's move on to the popularity poll. It was a little different this time. Pred is down to 58%. I shouldn't say Pred is down to 58%. It's more like Ethereal is up to 20% is kind of what happened. I think that has a lot to do with the streamer event. And then Overprime is up to 12, Fault down to 10. And I think for Fault, that's mainly because people were so excited for version 14 and then the patch 14 and then no patch. People are starting to, their excitement for Fault's starting to wane. We'll see what happens after 14 if that number goes back up. Stunt, what do you think of these numbers?
Honest opinion, Ethereal and Predecessor are probably going to be top 2. When the stress test weekend happens later on, depending on what Predecessor comes up with, what Predecessor does, how they fix their issues they had with the stress test, I see Ethereal or Predecessor being on top. And I've said it. Ethereal is the type of game that brings in new players, completely new players. That's going to introduce MOBAs to these players who are open world, new world players, or open world Dark Souls players, because they go with the theme. When you look at Predecessor and you look at Fault, there really isn't a theme. There's no way that you can connect Murdoch to Gideon to, I don't know, Rampage like. But Ethereal has a theme. When people look at Ethereal's trailers, and we've talked about this before, they automatically assume it's a Dark Souls type game, because when they don't see lanes or they see you jungling, they think it's like this new world type game, and then that's perfectly fine. It's, if they try the game out, the game is going to sell itself. I'm pretty sure it is, because that's what it did to me. The person that missed Fault, that wanted a Fault type game, for me to jump into Ethereal and be persuaded just by the gameplay, nothing else aside from the hospitality and all that the testers and everybody else showed me. That's a side fact, but the game itself sold it for me, and that's all you need is for somebody to jump in and, you know what I mean, just try it out. And I see the numbers being up there between Predecessor and Ethereal becoming pretty even. I do see that happening. As far as Fault and Overprime, that's on them. What way they go and what they do is already on them.
That's interesting too, because that Undying Games and Omega Studios have always had a very good relationship with each other. Via the past, you always see, you don't really see Undying show up in like a Fault stream, and you don't see Omega show up in an Overprime stream. You'll see Smokey show up in like some Ethereal news, or you'll see Owen show up in Smokey's stream or something like that. So that's pretty cool to see. And Jelly, what's your opinion of the numbers this week?
I mean, I love seeing Ethereal up 7% in a week, right? Like that's huge. Seeing that Overprime had a slight uptick and Fault had a slight downtick, but I think they stayed relatively the same, right? Yeah. In terms of, Because you also got like 100 more votes this time around than you did.
Last time was 210 votes by the time that I actually did it. This time it was 452 votes.
That's insane. So you doubled your votes almost in like that's crazy to see that kind of difference happened. But yeah, super stoked to see Ethereal up 7%. Hopefully just keeps on going up even through the stress tests and everything. And it'll be interesting to see how Fault when patch 14 drops, how Fault performs. When Overprime drops on Steam, how they perform. When Pred does whatever Pred's doing next, then it'll be interesting to see if that jumps back up to that 70, 80% we were seeing originally. So it'll be cool to see and watch those numbers change over the weeks.
What Pred do, what Pred do.
Pred do.
Well, that's going to close out the popularity poll. Let's move on to the discussion topic this week. We almost got into it last week. We kind of started to segue, and I was like, no, this is a topic all on its own, and we need to talk about this. What we're going to talk about is self-funding versus investor backing, because there are definitely, we can see the pros of investment backing just through Overprime itself. And then Predecessor has their investors too, and we can see that they've been using that money and putting it to good use. But we see Fault, they're also making a decent chunk of money. Ethereal kind of went out of nowhere with the NFTs and started their own weird funding thing that nobody's ever tried before and was pretty successful with it. And then they got their Patreon. So let's talk about this. I think some of these are pretty obvious. Some of the pros and cons. Stunt, you're the guest. I'll give you the floor.
This is an interesting field. It comes down to me too, because when it comes to games and films, it's the same thing. Even in films, when you bring in a new script and you do something like that, and you have an investor like a producer backing it, I think in most cases, when you bring in an investor, the cons outweigh the pros. Yeah, the money aspect is there, but even in the film industry or gaming industry, what happens is if you look at it on the investor's point of view, they want to make money back too. They want to make their money back and some more. So they'll come in and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm funding your film, or I'm funding your game or your film or whatever. But I get to bring in my own actors and I get to do the decisions." And at most cases, when you fund the game like that and you have no idea what the game's based on, you can completely steer it in the wrong direction. When you come and say, "You know what? It's my money. It's my decision. We're not going to go this route. We're going to go this route." You know what I mean? And that's what scares me about investors all the time. Yeah, self-funding, you put in more work, you do it yourself, but you're able to connect to the community and give them what they want. When you have a company behind you, even though you have unlimited resources or unlimited amount of money or whatever they want to put into it, at one point they're going to stop you and be like, "Yeah, you know what? Nah. We're either going to sell this character or we're going to leave this character for special people who back us too." You see what I'm saying? Sometimes the investor portion, the cons outweigh the pros a lot. And most times, actually, I wouldn't say sometimes. Most times the cons are, and I think that's what killed Paragon too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Tencent owning 50% of Epic definitely had part of the downfall of Paragon.
Again, when people confuse, sorry for cutting you off, Jelly. When people confuse Predecessor with the grant they got, it doesn't mean Epic is backing them up. Epic really doesn't need to do anything. From my understanding, if you use Epic, you're going to give them a percentage of your money anyways, no matter what happens. If you're using Unreal Engine, you automatically get, you're qualified for a grant. And when people they come and tell me, "Hey, they got a grant from Epic, and that means Epic is backing them." No, not really. And you really wouldn't want Epic to back another third-person MOBA after the disaster from the first time. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want it. This is why I think Superville is more of he's more there just for advice than he actually controls anything. That's what I think.
Which I think is a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a great thing.
Jelly?
Yeah, so for using the Unreal Engine, when you use the Unreal Engine and you market a product, right, and you're out there actually making money off of this game, whatever it may be, Epic Games gets a percentage cut. I believe it's 5% to start. just because you use their engine to do so, right? And then, so the Epic grant for Unreal Engine projects is kind of a like self-starting way for themselves, because in order to get the Epic grant, you have to be using Unreal Engine. By using Unreal Engine, you owe Epic money should you start making money at the same time. So they're acting as an investor without having to do any of the work of an investor, right? They literally just give you the money, and if it pays off, they get it all back, right? Like it just inherently from using the engine itself. So it's a kind of double-edged sword in that regard. It's super great to get the grant for the companies that need it, because that could be the difference between shutting the game down and it releasing. And sometimes that's all it takes to get the game started and rolling down the road. But I agree with Stunt in that it's hard, because Paragon showed us that investors don't necessarily have what's good for the game in mind. They have what's good for their pockets. And Paragon started with some pretty heavy microtransactions already in terms of the card system and needing to unlock those cards to be playable in a lot of ways. And then only got worse over time, with locking skins behind loot boxes, locking more things behind loot boxes, like just absolutely adding and tacking on more and more things to make it so you spend more and more money. And that almost wholeheartedly, I would say, is an investor thing, that the investors wanted their money back and Epic had no choice but to say, okay, here's what we're going to do to do that for you.
Right.
And being self-backed has its own issues of things most often don't get done as quickly, because there's just not money behind it. You're relying on volunteers, or you're relying on people that are being paid less to do the similar amount of work, right? But you can then control that product better and make it more what the community and what you envision it to be, versus having to answer to somebody higher up that is the end-all be-all of the game at that point. Mangus, what do you think?
Well, we've talked a lot about the sort of the downsides of investor backings. Some of the good things, I think we can see the upside of having somebody back you in the quality of Predecessor and the quantity of stuff we're getting from Overprime. Because those are the two that are backed by investors. And then Ethereal is going to be self-funded. Fault has been self-funded for a while. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to have investors. Like, yeah, they do take a little bit of control, but they make things happen too. Like, it's going to be easier for Predecessor, for Omega Studios, and for Team Soul with Overprime to get the game to a finished state faster and to a point where it can start making money. Whereas Fault has to make that money up front so they can keep moving on. Ethereal is going to have to make that money up front so they can keep moving on. And then the other thing is, with investor backing, like, they want a return on that investment. If the company needs something, they're going to help them out. If something fails with Fault or something fails with Ethereal and then the company just kind of abandons them, they're done. Like, they're out. Game over. It could be the same way with the investor-backed games as well. Like, if the investors just don't like it anymore, then they just pull the plug on the game, and then where are they? Without all that money backing them up, all the people that they were paying are going to leave, of course. Whereas with Ethereal, all those volunteers, they're going to keep working more than likely because they have a love for the game. So, I don't know. I think just the results speak for themselves with Overprime and Predecessor. I really believe that. I think it's a good thing that they went with investors, but it's probably just not the best way to go for everybody. And self-funding probably isn't the best way to go for everybody, but we'll see in the end what happens with all of these games. I rambled a lot there.
I think that's one of the most interesting things, though, Mangoose. If we look at just Overprime and Predecessor, is they both announced their investing partners in similar timing, within about 6 months of each other, and there's actually a pretty huge difference in what we're getting out of both of those, despite that investment. With Predecessor, basically that announcement came out, and the only thing we've really heard since then was the stress test that failed. Right? That we really haven't gotten any information past that. We really haven't seen anything new. We really haven't seen any of those things past that investment announcement. And then the stress test showed there was a lot of changes, but nobody could really see them because nobody could get in game.
Right.
Whereas Overprime announced their investment that they were partnered with Soliv, and then you saw a direct increase in terms of how fast things got done, how quickly updates came out, how their marketing picked up in association with that. And that's been really interesting to see as well, is that we've got even inside the investor bubble, we've got two very different examples of that bubble.
And that
right in that.
And the thing with Overprime is that it can also backfire too. So they got the company, the backing of the company. They have a new map. They have new characters on top of the 21 or whatever they had. I think a lot more. They had the most. They're testing out PlayStation or whatever they're testing out, obviously console. And I think all of this can actually backfire. Going from a PlayStation port or any console port to a cross-platform gaming with PC can have its own problems. Just because the company has all that money doesn't mean when it comes out it's going to be like a straight shot. I see Ethereal, Fault, and Predecessor having a much smoother, much better game on the day they come out than Overprime. And like you said, yeah, they have investors, but that money sometimes can be the downfall. That's the worry about it, because they're pushing so many things out. They're pushing so much at once. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they might have 3,000 just visual effects artists just working on 2 characters. I mean, that's fine. You'll have all of that. But what happens when it releases? What happens when you give them all this much and then you turn around and you monetize some of the items? What is it going to do to your player base because you're not getting enough money back? And again, that's why I reference it to a movie, because it happens. Producers come in where you have a set actor or actress and they go, nope, my nephew's going to play. My nephew just graduated psychology from UCLA, but no, he has no acting career, but since I'm putting in the money, he's going to play. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It comes to that situation, and it's scary. Personally, for me, I'd rather have a company that's self-funded, who works hard in the beginning and then gets to that point and they fund themselves and they go on. Obviously, they have their own risks of losing the company and doing all of that. Then an investor coming in and taking such an amazing game and saying, you know what? Nah, I hate this idea. We're going to do it my way. Especially when they don't know what the community wants.
Yeah.
Speaking back to kind of what Jelly was saying earlier, with it's different types of backing for Soliv and Omega. Like Soliv is backed by Netmarble, who is experienced with specifically gaming, whereas Omega is backed by angel investors and like just different investment groups that they went to. Like one of them, I know they've never funded a game before. This is the first game that they're funding, which is exciting stuff. It's great news, but you can like you said, Predecessor we haven't seen much out of. Overprime just churning it out. Because I think Netmarble has a little bit more experience with backing a gaming company than Predecessor. Just got money to do what they wanted with it. They have no direction. Maybe Steve Superville can give them that direction, because he has certainly had experience with that sort of thing.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Netmarble mostly known for handheld like cell gaming for
apps?
Mobile
games.
Yeah, there you go, mobile games. So that's a scary feeling. Now you're transitioning into a third-person mobile with PC.
Maybe Overprime's going to be on mobile.
I wouldn't be surprised.
The kind of boilerplate for both of them is that Overprime has gone from an indie company to feeling like a AAA studio, whereas Predecessor still feels like an indie company. Right? Despite having those investors behind them, they still have that feel. They still feel like they're the little 10-person team that they were years ago, which is good and bad on both respects.
Exactly.
Right? And it's literally, you could flip the coin and today it's good and tomorrow it's bad. That's all it will be. But that goes for all of the projects on both sides of the funding wall. Is that any one decision could be the thing that makes it a bad day versus a good day for your choice of how you got investors. So it's interesting to see how it all plays out in their own respects each way.
I think another sort of benefit to self-funding is the player base themselves feel more invested in the success of the game. You wouldn't be able to tell that looking at Fault today, because people will shit on Fault all day long that bought it, but they shit on it because they care. It's like JPie. JPie shits on Fault constantly, but it's because he cares about the game and he wants it to improve. He wants to believe in Fault as a product. I think Ethereal is going to be a little different. I think people that love Ethereal now and are investing in it now through the Patreon, through Patreon, like the NFTs, that's a whole different thing, but the Patreon that you guys got going, the people that are invested in Ethereal are invested for the long haul and truly, truly believe in that game. I wouldn't say we're fanatics, but we're definitely fanatics when it comes to 100%. Ethereal.
You seen my YouTube videos? Yeah, we're we're fanatics.
Magus, it's impossible not to be. Obviously, every game has its flaws. We all know it. It's not, but it gives you that fun feeling. Like I said, again, for me, based off of videos and following Ethereal, I was always interested from the day. Was it a year ago or maybe longer, Jelly? You guys had a video where a character was run around in the jungle and you were talking about how there's going to be different layers of a map and all that other stuff. Nothing was built yet. I was already intrigued. Having a flying character, a flying hero, having a climbing hero, and all of this other stuff. But the game itself sells. And I think, in my opinion, self-funding also does that, where you guys listen to the community a lot more. Mm-hmm. Overprime being the most maybe funded, that's why we keep talking about Overprime or comparing it. They don't listen to the community. I mean, they're doing their own thing. Maybe a couple names here and there, but if the community comes in and says, well, we don't want FaZe to be like that, they're not going to care. Because that company says, hey, this is what we want. This is how we're going to put it out there. Yeah. And this is why I prefer self-funding when it comes to investors, for any reason.
You mean that you don't want Daryl and Ellen in your game, or you want actual names for your characters?
Well, we talked a little bit. We talked a little bit about the difference in investors. There's also a difference in self-funding between Ethereal and Fault. I hate to say this, but Fault, a lot of people bought it because it was the only thing out there. Mm-hmm. But they don't believe as much in Fault as they do, say, Predecessor. They just bought it because it's the only Paragon-like game that's out there that they can play right now. Whereas Ethereal, I think people are more likely to actually pay real-world money for like a skin or something just because they know it's supporting the game. I know people that play Fault ain't going to pay jack shit. They don't even touch that coin store because they've got the game, so they're fine. They don't really care about supporting Strange Matter. I think the Ethereal community cares about supporting Undying games. That might tip the balance too and take them a little further than Strange Matter is able to go. But I mean, like I said, we'll see. Maybe version 14 will completely turn things around for Strange Matter, and they'll get even more players, and then they'll get players that really believe in the game and aren't just playing Fault because it's the only thing that they can play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And yeah, Fault started out with their Indiegogo into their paid access on Steam, and then Ethereal has their NFTs and then into Patreon that's ongoing. And they're very similar in regard to that concept, but like you said, Fault appeared out of the ashes of Core. I mean, if we're honest here, appeared out of the ashes of Core. When Core really fell apart, Fault suddenly showed up, and then being the first thing that was playable, people latched onto it, and that was present in their Indiegogo as well as just their initial days on Steam as well with that initial launch.
Yeah.
Whereas Ethereal doesn't have that, for lack of a better way to put it, the kind of being the first of the Paragon successors. It's not, people aren't latching onto it for that reason. They're not latching onto it because it's the first thing out. They're not latching onto it because of those things. They're latching onto it because they actually like and care about the concepts, like you were saying, Mangoose. That they want to support the company making the game and the game itself more than they just wanted to play Paragon again.
Yeah. And then these timelines don't help out either.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
The timelines with everything don't help. I mean, the reason earlier for the popularity Predecessor went down wasn't just because they saw a gameplay of Ethereal that it was nice. they're staying too quiet, and it's what, 4 months now. It's coming to that point where people are like, dude, we waited long enough. We have all these other games that are on the verge of coming out, and we're just gonna go over. And that's the scary part about it too.
Yeah, and I mean the rumors circulating just prior to the stress test and then just after the stress test were that Predecessor was going to go into some kind of early access, paid or not, in November of this year. And we're in the middle of November of this year, and we're not hearing anything. Yeah. The most recent we've heard is they're looking for more testers, which I think gives people that uneasy feeling of the game that we thought was leagues and bounds ahead of everybody else is not as leagues and bounds ahead as we had believed it was. And so it's making people kind of second guess and do a double take on Predecessor, whether or not it's really the thing that they need to be backing right now.
Okay, gentlemen, we are coming up on about an hour, and I do like to keep these about an hour long. So let's start closing it out. Stunt, final thoughts on the topic?
Thanks again for having me, guys. The topic is very important, man, Goose. It's important because we get a lot of community members who are mixed feelings, who don't understand the background process of what it takes for the devs and these game developers to make a game. It's the hardest. So those of you that are watching this YouTube video, just be patient. Give these guys a chance to show what they got. Just be patient. That's all I ask for, because it's not easy on the back end. Everybody sees what comes out, but they don't account for all the stress, everything they have, the back end, like the devs and stuff have to deal with on a daily basis. Whether it's Fault, Predecessor, whether it's Overprime, I mean, just give it a chance. Give it a chance. Just wait up and just follow for the minions, so so you get all the good information.
Hit subscribe, like, and comment down below.
I thought that was his job.
That's what I'm here for. I got to be the shill for Mangoose.
Jelly, any final thoughts on the topic?
I think it's just going to be interesting to see where each of the projects go. I'm excited that we saw the uptick with Ethereal. It'll be interesting to see what the stress test does for that as well. How the stress test goes in general, right? Of course, I want to say it's going to go great, right? I honestly have no idea. Something could happen, right? And so it's going to be interesting to wait and see what that looks like. Get registered for the stress test if you haven't, and then, yeah, I think that's it.
I think it's great that a couple years from now, one of these companies just takes off. We can be like, it's because of what we said back then. Like, you could look back and say, well, I totally said that's why they would be successful. Or when it crashes and burns, we could say the same thing. Yeah, I totally called that.
We're going to collect our 10%.
Totally called that.
We're just going to sit back and collect the checks.
I said 5,000 different things, and one of them catched on. It was all me.
It was all me. You just got to clip the one thing you said right and then refer to it.
Just start making a bunch of different Twitter accounts, all of them with one theory each. And then just be like, oh, see, look, I predicted it back in 2021, you know?
Oh, shit. Well, let's wrap it up. Stunt, you got anything to plug? Your Twitch channel?
My Twitch channel, just twitch.tv/stuntv. Or stuntv_ or stunt_v. I confused. I bombed the whole thing. People are going to go and they're going... type delete. What is this guy saying? Type delete.
It'll be linked in the video description below.
There you go. Thanks, Mangus.
Gotcha, bro. Jellyknees, anything to plug?
Yeah, I'm starting to stream again myself, starting on Monday, which will be super exciting. We'll do Marvelous Monday, which is twitch.tv/jelly_knees_ stunt_v. And so if you just go to that link, I guarantee you find my account there.
Wait, I can't catch up. What was that again?
But yeah, that's all I got. What about you, Mangoose?
I got nothing to plug because this is on my channel, like I always say. So if
like,
you're
subscribe,
watching
and comment.
Like, subscribe, comment, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
You can dislike if you want to. It counts the same as a like. Nobody gives a shit. The worst thing you can do to a YouTuber is not hit either of those buttons. That's the worst thing you can do.
It's so true.
So if you dislike something, if you dislike the YouTuber themselves, don't hit the dislike button. Just move on.
Dislike it.
But if you dislike the particular video they did, but you like them, go ahead and dislike it then.
And then comment on the bottom why you disliked it.
Yeah, Right.
Just don't mention
underneath
Stunt.
console when.
Just don't mention Stunt. He might come back, so don't mention. You didn't like me on there.
I do want to put out again, like if anybody wants to come co-host the show, hang out with Jelly and I, talk about all the different Paragon successors and then an interesting topic and talk about these poll results and all that stuff, then just hit me up, let me know. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this week. I will see you guys next time. Mangoose! Shout out to channel members Foolish Bloodhunter, Jellyknees, Meow Mix for Men, and Stunt.